Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another video here on the channel. Today is another episode of the TGC Summer Anniversary series here in 2026. Of course, we're on TGC Radio, the music channel, and I'm doing another full discography ranking, this time on a band I've already talked about so many times. In fact, I've talked about this band plenty of times with my best friend Tyson. But today is just me, and that is going to be a 2026 re-ranking of every single 3 Days Grace studio album, including, of course, Alienation, which was the first album since Transit to Venus in 2012 with original vocalist Adam Gonche. Now, that being said, I don't have much else to say. Let's just kind of jump right into it. So with the 2023 ranking that Tyson and I did, I don't know about him, but I know for me, I hadn't really re-listened to a lot of that stuff for a while before we did that recording. But then after that, I did end up re-listening to a few of the albums. Then the following year, I listened to all the rest of them. And then I've come back to them all again a few more times in full since then, including Alienation, which released last year. I've listened to in full a good few times as well, really soaking it in and getting used to it and listening to it, So yeah, I'm a lot more familiar, and with that being said, we will take right away on screen, I will have my 2023 ranking. Of course, we start off with the first album, 2003's self-titled 3 Days Grace, and in 2023, a few years ago now, I put that in the bronze tier. And of course, now my rating system is a bit different. Platinum tier, of course, if this is the first one you're watching from me, platinum tier are albums that make you feel something. Gold are for excellent albums, silver is for great albums, bronze is for good albums, aluminum are for okay albums, and then copper is trash or bad. So, yeah. So, I said the self-titled 3 Days Grace album back in the day, or 3 years ago, was a bronze tier album. And effectively, I would still say that's... Well, let's get into it. So I did take some notes for some of these as well, and I said right away, this is an interesting one because I'm so intimately familiar with their whole discography. I've listened to every album so many times, including just a couple years ago. I've also listened to Alienation in full quite a few times in the about a year since I wrote this, since it came out. Even though it's actually closer to a year now than when I wrote that, but whatever, it's fine. And I probably don't need to re-listen to everything again, but I listened to almost everything again, except for the stuff that was the most recent on the re-listening. But yeah. And then, self-titled 3 Days Grace, I said I like this album more than I give it credit for, and that I gave it credit for back in the 2023 album ranking. I still believe other albums are better, and I don't know if I'd call this one great, but it is really good. And we'll see how I feel after the others. And then I said with Burn, I've always liked this song. It's still a good opener, and it really does show just how influenced by grunge they were. And I would say it's still a good example of the post-grunge genre. It's not super exciting, but it's still good. With Just Like You, it is still like a pretty generic song, all things considered, but it's still fine for what it is. I Hate Everything About You, despite all of the things you could say negatively about this song, I think it still works incredibly well. And I also wanted to shout out Brad's bass tone in the song, because on the most recent re-listen, actually, with like good headphones and stuff, it was kind of the first time that I noticed, like, he kind of has like loud, fuzzy bass tone, and I like that. But yeah, I want to shout out that specifically, but I Do Think About You is the song for this band, like, yeah. And there's a reason for it. I've always really liked Home. Scared has become my favorite on the album and has been for a few years, and I love this song so much now. I still don't particularly care for Let You Down, but I did want to shout out how I really like the rhythm section in this song, and I do appreciate it more now than I used to, and it's not my least favorite on the album anymore. Now or Never is still a decent song. Born Like This is still pretty good as well. Drown, I still really like. And I wanted to shout out the synth that's kind of hiding in the background. It could be a lead part on guitar, but it sounded a little bit more synthy to me. Anyway, I like Drown a lot. Wake Up, again, I think is a song that works really well. I like how it does illustrate a toxic relationship. And yeah, I mean, do I hate that one questionable line? Sure, but like that's not even what they fucking meant when they wrote that line, so whatever. Anyway, yeah. I think the line could be better, but it's never bothered me. It's never like creeped me out or anything. It's just yeah. I just think the line could have been better. Anyway, Wake Up's still a good song. Take Me Under is good, and I still think that it reminds me a bit more of 1X, like what they would go on to do, and I think that's great, honestly. And I definitely agree with it being probably the most underrated song on the album. I still agree with that as well. And I still like Overrated a lot as as a closing track. I still like this album a lot, and again, I probably appreciate it a lot more than I used to, for sure. Um, but all in all, with my new ranking system, I think I still agree. I think I'd still say it's bronze tier for me, as it's a good album. But I don't know if I can say personally if it quite reaches great. But it's still a good album for sure. So I'll keep it in bronze tier. But then we move on to, of course, 1X in 2006, and I said right away, this album is so interesting to me. It's obviously the album for this band. If someone says they like a full LP from this band, it's 1X. That was even me for most of my adolescence. But now it's not my favorite album from the band, but I always say I don't love it as much as I used to. And those are both true statements. But I also feel connected to the album still. You know, it definitely has moments that would get a platinum rating on my new scale, but there are other songs that I like, some that I don't really care for. But no matter what I think, this will always be the band's magnum opus. I may not love it anymore, but that's okay. And then I said for It's All Over, you know, upon listening to this again, I still fuck with this song. As I get older, I like the song more and more, and when I started the re-listen today, I really felt like I liked it more than just about everything on Self-Titled. Pain, I said, is a good song with moments that I like, but my current opinion holds true, and I don't love it. I don't really care for the song anymore. And genuinely, the same for Animal I've Become. It's a good song, there's stuff that I like in it, but I don't love it. Never Too Late is the complete opposite. Another one of their absolute biggest songs, staple of the live set, of course. But you know what? I don't care what anyone says about this song. I'll always love this song. Its message is on the nose. They're not trying to be subtle, but to be honest, I don't think the band's ever tried to be subtle when they're writing. Sometimes that can be a problem, but I don't think it is here. And yeah, I love this song. I love the acoustic that leads the song. I love Barry's lead part in the chorus, which has always just done something to my brain. I love that lead part. And yeah, the rest of the band is killing it. It's an excellent song, and if I was just doing songs, it would probably be a platinum rating for me. It makes me feel things. But then we move on to On My Own. And I said this song has always been pretty interesting for me. I liked it a lot as a kid, but as I've gotten older, it's become in one ear, out the other for me. I end up liking it when I'm listening to it, but then I can't really remember it afterward. Recently, that started to change again, and I do like and remember it more. And listening again now, I like it, and it's genuinely a good song on this great album. Riot. You know, I don't really remember when I stopped liking Riot. In saying that, I don't agree with my comments from a few years ago. I don't hate this song. It's a fine song with parts that I like a lot. I actually really like the lead guitar parts in this song, and that's actually probably my favorite thing about it. It's not bad, but I do think it's just fine. And I do think this is a song, and I do think this song is a huge example of one of the band's worst songs becoming their biggest, though. But in saying that, it's not bad. It's just fine. Get It Alive, and I said, my old fave, and that's true. I still love the song a lot. I love the second chorus with the harmonies, then the bridge comes in, and I like the song even more. Then they have a small break to build into the final chorus, which ends up being the biggest part of the song. It's an excellent song. Let It Die, I said, is another really good song that carries the momentum of the previous really well. I've always liked this song, and I still do, and I still feel like this album gets better as it goes. I like Get Out Alive more, but this is really good. Over and Over, I said, this song has been over and Over has been another massive sleeper hit for me. I've always liked it, but it wasn't until a 2023 re-listen after the album ranking that I fell in love with this song. It's a great song, and I also need to shout out the violin that really takes the song to another level. It's in the background, but once you notice it, I feel like you can't unnotice it, and it just really works. Time of Dying. This was one of, if not Tyson's first favorites on this album, and I get it. This is another good song and a good deep cut. I'll also say my past comments about the song lyrically, I don't agree with now. It's very simple and on the nose, but again, this band has never done subtlety, and most people would relate to a song like this more anyway. It's not my fave, but it's still good. Gone Forever, I said Tyson's longtime favorite song from the band. Again, this song is great. It starts off with a nice acoustic part with the rhythm section working in tandem, but in a more subtle way. The chorus comes in, and I really like Barry's lead parts again. The bridge is trademarked 3 Days Grace and the highest point of the song. Then we finish off, and I'm still left enjoying the song and the album. And then the final track, title track, and we have my favorite song. This song just feels like a closing track in the best possible way. Everything this album is about and everything Adam had written about is wrapped up in this song. The band sounds great, and I love everyone's playing. I really love the bridge and the outro, especially the vocals and all the harmonies, and how they keep going as the band fades out. And I love this song a lot. And it ended up in my silver tier, which, if we look at that now, of course, silver tier would be for great albums. And, I mean, I could keep it there, but I almost don't know. Part of me wants to leave it in silver tier because that would be great albums. I think that's fitting. And honestly, for my opinions alone, maybe it should. But do I think it does enough to reach into like my gold tier for excellent albums? There's an argument to be made for sure. So I'm going to temporarily leave it in silver. But as I go through my notes for this most recent re-listen of Life Starts Now, it might change. We'll see. But I'll slot it into staying in silver for now, which would mean it is a great album. But Life Starts Now, the third album, 2009, as I said, talk about surprising myself on a re-listen. I've listened to these songs so many times, but I really do think this is better than 1X in every way. I think everyone's playing is better, the lyrics are mostly better, and it just hits me like a ton of bricks. Honestly, I think this could go in my new platinum tier. This album makes me feel, and that's the best thing an album can do. But do I still feel that way now? Not really, but we'll go through the song by song. Bitter Taste. This song I used to hate for some reason that I can't even explain now. Now I genuinely like the song quite a bit. Upon the re-listen, I kind of like this more than It's All Over. I really love the solo in the song too, especially because this band doesn't solo very often. I love Neil's drumming at the end too. And it's a killer opener. Break. I've always liked this song, and I felt it was a solid single choice for the album. In saying that, I've never loved the song, but it's a really good song. I really like the lead parts, and especially the rhythm section, and it's a great follow-up to Bitter Taste. World So Cold was an early favorite of mine. The song is still great. I absolutely love the pre-chorus, especially Barry's lead parts and Brad's bass line, and the bridge is also excellent. Lost in You is my longtime favorite song from the band and this album. This album's never too late, if you will. I like this more than that song, and this still just hits me in the feels. Then it has one of the band's best bridges too, and it's still one of my faves, that's for sure. The Good Life. I felt that this song is just... I've kind of like always felt that The Good Life is just okay for a pretty long time. And that's still true, but they accomplished what they set out to do with this one. It's a fun song that I'd much rather see live and open up a pit to than Riot. I may not hate Riot anymore, but I like this one more. It also brings the mood and energy back up after some heavier songs lyrically. No More is a fantastic deep cut that has a nice solo that follows the melody. Last to Know, again, what do I say about this song that I haven't said before? I love this little melodramatic song. They want you to feel something when listening to this, and they accomplish that. It doesn't work on me as much as Lost in You, but it does work. I also love the build up, how the whole band explodes after the bridge. The last and altar chorus may be a bit cringy, but to be cringe is to be free. Someone Who Cares is another song that is just a killer deep cut. Also, again, that pre-chorus is just too good. Shout out to the fill right before the second chorus, and this is a killer bridge too. Bully, I've always wanted to like this song, but it's never clicked for me. It's not my favorite song, but I do like it. This is why you should always give more songs. This is why you should always give songs more listens. Some songs just will not click right away, but after enough listens, it finally does. Sometimes it won't, and that's okay too. Without You, I said, is a song that doesn't explode in the chorus, which is really cool. They finally do in the second pre-chorus, and it makes it hit a little harder. I love the tone on the solo in this song, and I've always liked the song a lot. Going Down, Brad has a great driving bass line to kick off the song, and again, I've always liked this song, and I still do. And final song, title track, Life Starts Now, a fantastic title track and a closing track. I've always felt super strongly toward this song, and I love it so much. And yeah, I do think this album is better than 1X, but I don't quite agree with what I wrote for the overall album thoughts on the most recent re-listen there at the start. I don't think I would put this in my platinum tier. There are things on it that make me feel something, but the whole album doesn't quite do that. But I think if 1X to me is like as high in silver tier, as high of a great album as you can get, which is probably true, I would say Life Starts Now does just reach into gold tier for me as an excellent album. So I am going to bump up Life Starts Now to the gold tier. But now we move on to Transit of Venus. And Transit of Venus has been my longtime favorite album from the band for quite a while. In the previous album ranking, I gave it gold tier. And it's an album that I still love so much. I love everything about it. And even the songs that were like kind of lower down in my own personal ranking on the album, I've grown to love even more than I already did. The only one I would probably like say is probably the Michael Jackson cover, and that's mainly because I finally went out of my way to listen to the original Given to Me, and yeah, the original Given to Me is better. But I still think, for the most part, they still stick to the vibe of the original, and they stay true to it in some really cool ways. I think the cover still works, but yeah, like the original is better, and 3 Days Grace cuts off like 2 minutes of the song. But that's probably like the one that I'm like, is probably but I still love that cover a lot. I didn't take notes on Transit of Venus because, like, what more can I freaking say on this album, right? It's still my favorite album. I love it. From Sign of the Times down to Unbreakable Heart, I love everything on this album, and it easily is still my favorite album for the band. It is still gold tier. It's above Life Starts Now in my new 2026 3 Days Grace album ranking gold tier, but I think they're both excellent albums. But yeah, Transit of Venus is at the top. And then we move on to Human, which in the 2023 ranking, I put in the aluminum tier, which of course would just be for okay albums. And to be quite honest, I still kind of agree. Yeah, I do. I like and appreciate this album a lot more than I used to, especially at the time. And I love the opener, Human Race. Again, hot take. I really do like that as an opener. I like Human Race as a song. It does something for me. I like that song. And then Painkiller, I still think is okay. Fallen Angel, I like a little bit more, but it's still okay. Tell Me Why is okay. Car Crash and So What are both okay. I actually really like I Am Machine, and it's still my favorite song on the album now. And then the rest of the album, there's stuff that I do like, but I do feel like it's just I do think it's significantly weaker than everything else that we've come to so far. So I agree with Past Me. I'm keeping it in the aluminum tier, but I do appreciate it more, you know? But I do think ultimately it's just an okay album. But then we move to Outsider, and this is one where, like, I remember Tyson and I wildly disagreed on the album. Like, this was in his gold tier, and Outsider for me was in bronze tier, just a little bit higher for me than self-titled. And I think I still put it higher than self-titled, for sure. And again, it's an album that, like, as soon as I did my re-listen this time around again, I'm like, yeah, you know, I feel like I feel about the same on this album as I do Human. But then at the same time, I would much rather listen to Outsider. And I think that stretch of songs from Strange Days down to the Abyss, that's such a good, like, stretch of songs to close out the album. I love all those songs a lot. I like Infrared a lot. Nothing to Lose But You is okay. Love Me or Leave Me is okay. I I wouldn't say I quite like Me Against You, but I don't hate it anymore, and I don't feel like it's the band's worst song anymore. It's just okay. Again, The Mountain I think is okay. Right, Left, Wrong I do still like, even if its chorus is cringe as fuck. I still like it though. Um, and yeah, the only song that again is like I'm an Outsider. I don't like that song, but you know what? Again, they do get points for the chorus being catchy. But like I said before, catchy doesn't mean good, and I still don't like the song. I think the song is I'm now the problem with I'm an Outsider is it just exists to be a cliche, and like that's not always a bad thing, but I think it's a bad thing with this song in particular. But that's like the only one that I'm like, whatever. But yeah, ultimately, even if I feel about the same for Outsider as I do Human, I would much rather listen to that, and I think there is much more like I think there's a higher quality of songs and songwriting on this album than Human. So ultimately, I do think it's still a tier higher. And I would still put so yeah, I think it's a bronze tier album. It's a good album, and I would still put it a little bit higher for me personally than self-titled. So yeah, I think it stays the same to be honest. And then Explosions, if my buddy who commented on the 2023 album ranking that is a Godzilla fan is watching this one too, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, but Explosion still has not won me over. I still don't like this album. I still think it's their weakest stuff. Period. I've listened to the whole thing a few times, quite a few times, and like it does nothing for me. Like I think, and the thing is, I still stand by what I said before though. If you just like 3 Days Grace, period, like you don't have any problems with like anything they've ever done, you like everything they've ever done, then this is just another thing for you. Like that you should like this album because it's just more of the same. But for me, like yeah, there's nothing else for me to like latch onto. There's nothing for that just grips me or anything. It's just like yeah, it's not for me. It's not an album for me. I'm not gonna say it's a bad album. I'm not gonna say it's unlistenable. I'm not gonna say it's trash. But I'm gonna say it's just okay. But there's nothing I like on it, and it is the bottom of my aluminum tier. Yeah. Yeah. That stays the same too. But then we come to Alienation, which is the most recent album. 2025's Alienation, the return of Adam Ganche, and I like this album quite a bit, but it's not my favorite by a long shot, and I think I don't like it quite as much as I did on the first listen from the First Impressions video. And if we fast forward my little reference thing here, at the end of that First Impressions video, I did an updated 2025 ranking where really the only thing that changed was Life Fresh Now was officially in the silver tier higher than 1X, and then Alienation was also in the silver tier but below 1X. So, how do I feel about Alienation? Dominate, I still don't care for. I think it's fine. It's a good opener. It's very 3 Days Grace, but for me, it's just eh. I do like Apologies, and I do like they try something a bit different. Mayday, I think, is okay. I do really like Kill Me Fast, and that's become my favorite on the album easily. Like, I like that song a lot. I do still like In Waves. for sure. I think Alienation is basically the same kind of idea as I'm an Outsider, just done better. And yeah, there are other songs that I like quite a bit, but overall, there's not much else to add, to be quite honest. Um, I do like the album, but I don't feel quite as strong about it now. But I will say the biggest thing to mention here is I really wish Never Ordinary was better. Like, I want to like that song. That's a song that screams that I should like it, and I like parts of it. But unfortunately, I really don't give a shit about that song until Lindsey Sterling comes in with the violin. Um, yeah. Like, by the time she comes in, I'm like, oh yeah, I like the song a lot now. But up until that point, I'm like, this is just like kind of typical 3 Days Grace, and I'm like, it does nothing for me here. Yeah, it's slight reworking that song would be probably top tier for me. But as it is on the album, it's no. Anyway, yeah. Like I said, there's not much else to add here. I like Alienation, but like I said, I don't like it quite as much from the first listen or even the first few listens that I did document. But do I like at this point? Do I think Alienation is on the same tier as 1X, which is now my only silver tier great album? No. And to be honest with you, I probably like Alienation a little more than Self-Titled, but I think there's still stuff on Outsider I would much rather come back to. Like, I really like Infrared and then Strange Days Down to the Abyss. Like, and as much as I do come back, as much as I do like come back to Apologies, Kill Me Fast, In Waves, Don't Want to Go Home Tonight, and like Another Relapse. I don't know. Some of those songs I'd probably come back to more than stuff on Outsider, but I think as a whole, there's more on Outsider that I would rather come back to. So I think I'm gonna bump Alienation down from the 2025 ranking, like kind of like very quick ranking, if you will. I think I would bump it down to bronze tier, where it's a good album, but it's between Outsider and Self-Titled. But with that being said, I did want this to be pretty quick, all things considered. I didn't want another hour-long video talking about 3 Days Grace. But yeah, I still don't think... I think as a whole album... I think as albums are concerned, like full LPs, they don't have anything that makes me feel something, but they do have a lot of songs that make me feel. So as albums are concerned, I think still nothing goes in my platinum tier. Nothing as a whole makes me feel something from start to finish. But in my gold tier, we have Transit of Venus at the top, followed by Life Starts Now. Silver tier, there's just one album. Or those two are excellent albums then. Silver tier, great albums. There's one album, that is 1X, which I think is just slightly weaker than the previous two. Or Transit of Venus and Life Starts Now. Yeah. Then bronze tier, we have 3 albums. At the top, we have Outsider, and then Alienation, and then Self-Titled, and those are all good albums. And then we have 2 more, the final 2, which is Human and Explosions, which are okay albums, with Human at the top, with stuff I actually like, and Explosions, again, I don't like anything on it, but I don't feel good about calling it a trash album. You know what I mean? But yeah, that is it. That is my ranking of everything 3 Days Grace has done, from Self-Titled down to the most recent album, Alienation, from last year. And that'll be another episode of the TGC Summer Anniversary series here in 2026. And I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you go on to watch the other ones. Let me know how you feel about 3 Days Grace. And until next time, I'll see you later. Bye, guys.